Amara Thompson was 22 years old and she worked as a housemaid in one of Chicago's most expensive estates. That night at 11:47 p.m., she heard footsteps outside her door. Heavy, deliberate, then 3 knocks that made her blood run cold. When she opened that door, trembling and confused, the billionaire she worked for stepped inside and closed it behind him. Her back pressed against the cold wall, tears streaming down her face as she whispered words that would change everything. "Sir, please? Please, please, sir, don't. I'm begging you." But he didn't move. Instead, he blocked her exit, acted like he hears nothing at all, and in that moment, her entire life shifted. She was just trying to survive her shift as a housemaid. What she witnessed, what was done to her, and what he did next would destroy his entire empire. But none of that mattered in that moment. Because in that moment, Amara was alone with a man who had all the power, and she had absolutely none. Why did the security footage from that night get deleted within hours? Stay with me because what you're about to hear will shake your heart. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Marcus Danton, 54 years old. Net worth estimated at $2.3 billion. Real estate mogul. Philanthropist. Respected member of Chicago's elite social circle. But behind the expensive suits and charity galas, there was something else. Something the staff whispered about when he left the room. Something his lawyers had been covering up for years. Amara grew up in Englewood, one of Chicago's toughest neighborhoods. Her mother, Diane, worked double shifts at a nursing home. Her father had been gone since she was 7. She had 2 younger brothers, twins named Isaiah and Elijah, both 13. The apartment they lived in had peeling paint and windows that never quite closed all the way. In winter, they stuffed towels in the cracks to keep the cold out. In summer, they slept with fans pointed directly at their faces because the air conditioning hadn't worked in 3 years. Amara had been the hope of the family. Straight A student in high school. Full scholarship to community college. She wanted to be a social worker, wanted to help families like hers climb out of poverty. But during her 2nd semester, her mother got sick. Lupus. The medical bills started piling up fast. Diane couldn't work as many hours. The scholarship covered tuition but not living expenses. Amara made a choice. She dropped out. Got a job at a diner. Then a second job at a grocery store. She worked 70 hours a week and still couldn't keep up with the bills. That's when her mother's friend, a woman named Beverly who worked as a cook in Lake Forest, told her about a job opening. Marcus Danton was looking for household staff. The pay was incredible. $25 an hour. Room included. Full benefits after 90 days. Amara could send almost all her earnings home. She applied that same day. The interview was strange. It wasn't conducted by Marcus himself, but by his head of household operations, a woman named Patricia Hensley. Patricia was in her late 50s, with iron gray hair pulled back in a tight bun and eyes that seemed to see right through people. She asked Amara basic questions. Can you clean? Can you follow instructions? Can you be discreet? Mr. Danton values his privacy above everything, Patricia said, her voice flat and professional. What happens in this house stays in this house. Do you understand? Amara nodded. She would have agreed to almost anything at that point. There are rules, Patricia continued. You follow them without question. You don't enter Mr. Danton's private wing unless specifically instructed. You don't discuss his business with anyone. You don't bring guests to the property. And you never, under any circumstances, lock your bedroom door. Amara frowned. Why not? Patricia's expression didn't change. Safety protocols. In case of fire or medical emergency, we need to be able to access all rooms immediately. Is that going to be a problem? Amara hesitated, but only for a second. $25 an hour. Full benefits. Her mother's medication cost $800 a month. No ma'am. That won't be a problem. She started the following Monday. The Danton estate was like nothing she'd ever seen. 12 bedrooms. 15 bathrooms. An indoor pool. A garage with 7 cars, each worth more than her family's entire apartment building. The staff was small but efficient. Patricia ran the household operations. There was a chef named Raymond. 2 gardeners. A driver named Vincent. 3 security guards who rotated shifts. And 4 other housemaids, including a woman named Kia Watson. Kia was 28, originally from Atlanta. She'd been working at the estate for 2 years. On Amara's first day, Kia pulled her aside during lunch break. You seem like a sweet girl, Kia said quietly. So I'm going to tell you something and you need to listen carefully. Amara's stomach tightened. Okay, Stay away from Mr. Danton. Don't be alone with him if you can avoid it. If he calls you into a room, leave the door open. If he asks you personal questions, keep your answers short. If he ever makes you uncomfortable, you come find me or Patricia immediately. You understand? Amara's mouth went dry. Has he done something? Kia's jaw clenched. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. For the first 3 weeks, Amara barely saw Marcus Danton. He traveled constantly. London, Dubai, Los Angeles. When he was home, he spent most of his time in his office on phone calls. He was tall, well-dressed, with silver hair and the kind of face that looked good in photographs. Confident. Commanding. The few times they crossed paths, he barely acknowledged her existence. A nod. Maybe a brief good morning. Nothing more. Amara started to relax. Maybe Kia had been exaggerating. Maybe there was nothing to worry about. Then everything changed in week 4. She was cleaning the library one Tuesday afternoon when Marcus walked in. She immediately moved toward the door, ready to give him privacy, but he stopped her. No need to leave. I just need to grab a book. He walked to one of the shelves, took his time browsing. Amara kept cleaning, trying to be invisible. You're the new girl, right? His voice made her jump. Yes, sir. Amara. Where are you from, Amara? Englewood, sir. Tough neighborhood. Yes, sir. What made you want to work here? She hesitated. Keep it short, Kia had said. I needed a good job, sir. My family needs help with bills. He turned to look at her, then really look at her. His eyes traveled from her face down to her feet and back up again. Slowly. Deliberately. It made her skin crawl. You're very mature for your age. How old are you? 22, sir. College? I was in college. Had to stop. That's a shame. You seem intelligent. He took a step closer. Are you settling in okay? Is your room comfortable? Yes, sir. Everything's fine. Good. I want my staff to be happy here. If you ever need anything, you let me know personally. Don't go through Patricia. Come directly to me. There was something in the way he said it. Something that felt wrong. Thank you, sir. I will. He smiled. I mean that, Amara. My door is always open for you. He left the library, and Amara stood there, her heart pounding, trying to figure out why a simple conversation had felt so threatening. That night, she told Kia what happened. Kia's face went pale. He's starting, she whispered. Starting what? That's how it always begins. He singles out a girl. Asks personal questions. Offers special treatment. Makes her feel seen. Then he starts showing up in places she's working. Finding excuses to be near her. And then... Kia trailed off, her hands shaking. Then what? Amara asked, though part of her didn't want to know. Kia looked her dead in the eye. Then he takes what he wants. Over the next month, Marcus's attention on Amara intensified. He started appearing in whatever room she was cleaning. Always with an excuse. He needed a file from his office. He wanted to check on the chandelier she was dusting. He was looking for his reading glasses. But his eyes were always on her. Watching. Studying. One morning, she was making his bed when she found an envelope on the pillow. Inside was $500 in cash and a note. For your mother's medicine. You don't need to pay me back. Amara's first instinct was gratitude. Her mother's prescription had just gone up in price. This would cover an entire month. But then she remembered Kia's warning. Special treatment. She should have returned the money. Should have told Patricia. But $500 was $500 and her mother needed it. So she kept it and said nothing. 2 days later, Marcus called her into his office. Her hands were shaking when she knocked. Come in. He was sitting behind his massive desk, looking at his computer. Close the door, please. Every alarm bell in Amara's head went off. I'd prefer to leave it open, sir. House policy. He looked up, one eyebrow raised. House policy? Miss Patricia said we should always keep doors open when meeting with you, sir. For professionalism. It was a lie, but she was desperate. Marcus stared at her for a long moment, then smiled. Patricia is very thorough. That's fine. Leave it open. Relief flooded through her. I wanted to check if the money helped, he said casually. Yes, sir. Thank you. It was very generous. Your mother is lucky to have a daughter like you. Sacrificing your education to take care of her. I'm the oldest. It's my responsibility. Still, not many young people would do what you're doing. He stood up, walked around the desk, leaned against it, too close to where she was standing. You know, Amara, I admire loyalty. It's a rare quality, and I like to reward loyalty. Sir, I'm just doing my job. You're doing more than your job. You're doing it with grace, with humility. That's why I want to help you. You already did, sir. The money? I'm talking about your future. What if I told you I could pay for you to finish college? Full tuition. You could go part-time, keep working here, and get your degree. Would you be interested? Amara's heart stopped. It was everything she dreamed of. Everything she'd thought was impossible. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll let me invest in your future. Why would you do that for me? Because I see potential in you. And because... He paused, his eyes locking onto hers. Because I like you, Amara. The way he said like made her stomach turn. This wasn't about education. This wasn't about generosity. This was about something else. Something he wanted in return. I need to think about it, sir. His smile faded slightly. Of course. Take your time. But not too much time. Opportunities like this don't come around often. She left his office feeling sick. That night she couldn't sleep. She wanted to tell Kia, but Kia had been avoiding her lately. Something had changed. Amara didn't know what. She found out 3 days later. Patricia called an emergency staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the kitchen. Patricia's face was grim. Kia has resigned, effective immediately. She's already left the property. Amara's blood ran cold. Why? Patricia's eyes flicked to her, then away. Personal reasons. That's all I can say. But Amara knew. She knew without being told. Kia had run. And she'd run because of Marcus Danton. After the meeting, Amara tried to call Kia. No answer. She texted. Nothing. 2 days later, she finally got a response. I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye. I couldn't stay there anymore. Be careful, Amara. Please be careful. If he corners you, scream. Fight. Run. Don't let him make you think you're powerless. You're not. Amara read the message 20 times. Each time her fear grew. She started changing her schedule, trying to clean when Marcus wasn't home. But he seemed to know. He'd appear anyway. His questions became more personal. More invasive. Did she have a boyfriend? Had she ever been in love? Was she religious? Did she believe in waiting until marriage? Every question felt like a trap. Every answer felt dangerous. Then came the Friday night that changed everything. Most of the staff had gone home for the weekend. Only Patricia, one security guard named Leon, Raymond the chef, and Amara remained. Marcus had been in his office all evening. Amara finished her duties at 10 p.m. and went to her room on the 3rd floor. It was small but comfortable. A bed, a dresser, a small bathroom. She changed into her pajamas, an oversized t-shirt and cotton shorts. She brushed her teeth. She locked her door. She'd been locking it every night despite Patricia's rule. No one had said anything. She figured it didn't matter. At 11:47 p.m., she woke to footsteps in the hallway. Heavy. Deliberate. They stopped outside her door. Then 3 knocks. Loud. Commanding. Her heart exploded in her chest. She knew who it was. She knew. Amara. His voice. Full. Controlled. Yes, sir? She tried to sound normal. Tried to keep the fear out of her voice. Open the door. Sir, I'm sleeping. Is something wrong? I need to speak with you. Open the door. Can it wait until morning, sir? Silence. Then colder. Harder. Open the door now or I will have maintenance unlock it. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely turn the lock. Click. The sound echoed like a gunshot. She opened the door just a crack, keeping her body behind it. Yes, sir? He pushed the door open. Stepped inside. Closed it behind him. Amara backed up until her legs hit the bed. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Sir, please, you shouldn't be here. Why did you lock your door? His voice was calm, but his eyes were not. I always lock my door. It's habit. I specifically told Patricia to tell all staff members not to lock their doors. I'm sorry, sir. I forgot. You forgot. He took a step closer. Or you were trying to keep me out? No, sir, do you know how disrespectful that is, Amara? I offer to pay for your education. I give you money for your mother. And you repay me by locking me out. I wasn't trying to lock you out, sir. You just what? Another step. You just don't trust me? Tears were streaming down her face now. Please, sir. Please leave my room. We're having a conversation. Please. I don't feel safe. Safe. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You don't feel safe in my house? The house where I pay you? The house where I feed you? The house where I gave you opportunities you'd never have anywhere else? I'm grateful, sir. I am. But please, you need to leave. I don't need to do anything, Amara. This is my house. These are my rules. And you? He reached out, not to touch her, but to the wall beside her head, blocking her in. You belong to me. The words hung in the air like poison. Amara's whole body was shaking. She couldn't run. Couldn't fight. He was bigger, stronger, and he owned everything. Her job. Her income. Her family's survival. Sir. Her voice broke. Please. I'm begging you. And that's when the door opened. Leon, the security guard, stood in the doorway. Tall. Solid. Furious. Step away from her, Mr. Danton. Marcus turned, his face twisting with rage. What the hell are you doing in here? My job. Step away from the girl. You're fired. Fire me tomorrow. Right now, step away from her. For one terrible moment, Amara thought Marcus was going to attack Leon. His fists clenched. His jaw tightened. But then Patricia appeared behind Leon, her phone in her hand. The police are on their way, she said quietly. Marcus's face went white. You called the police? I did. For what? I was having a conversation with my employee. In her bedroom. At midnight. With the door closed. While she was crying and begging you to leave. Patricia's voice was steel. Get out of this room, Marcus. Now. If you're still watching, comment justice, so we know who's still here. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Marcus left the room, but not before shooting Amara a look that promised this wasn't over. Leon stayed in the doorway, arms crossed, making sure he was gone. Patricia came in, her face softer now. Pack a bag. Leon is going to take you to a hotel tonight. Am I fired? Amara's voice was barely a whisper. Absolutely not. You did nothing wrong. But you're not staying here tonight. My family needs this job. You'll still have your job. I promise. But first, we need to keep you safe. Within 20 minutes, Amara was in Leon's car, driving through the dark Chicago streets. How did you know? She asked. Leon glanced at her in the rearview mirror. I've been here 5 years. I've seen things. And tonight, I saw him go upstairs when he thought everyone was asleep. I followed. I heard you crying. That's when I got Patricia. Thank you. Her voice cracked. You don't need to thank me. I should have done something sooner. Done something about what? Leon was quiet for a long moment. You're not the first girl he's gone after. But you're going to be the last. The hotel room was clean and quiet. Patricia had paid for 3 nights. Amara sat on the bed, staring at the wall, trying to process what had happened. She'd come so close. So terrifyingly close. If Leon hadn't been there. If Patricia hadn't called the police. She didn't want to think about how that night could have ended. The police did come, but Marcus had expensive lawyers who arrived within the hour. They claimed it was a misunderstanding. That Marcus had simply been checking on Amara after hearing a noise. That she'd overreacted. That this was all a case of miscommunication. No charges were filed. But something had shifted. Word spread through the estate. By morning, 2 other housemaids had contacted Patricia with their own stories. A woman named Jasmine said Marcus had cornered her in the wine cellar 8 months ago. Had asked her invasive questions about her personal life. Had touched her shoulder in a way that made her skin crawl. When she tried to report it, she'd been told to keep quiet or lose her job. She'd kept quiet. Another woman, Teresa, said Marcus had entered her room once at night, 3 years ago. She'd pretended to be asleep. He'd stood there for several minutes, just watching her, then left. She'd quit 2 weeks later and never told anyone why. Now they were talking. Now they were ready to fight. Patricia connected them with a lawyer. Her name was Sharon Mills. She was 53 and she'd spent her entire career fighting workplace harassment cases. She met with Amara, Jasmine, and Teresa separately. Heard their stories. Took notes. Then she said something that changed everything. I need you to know that this is going to be hard. Marcus Danton has money, power, and connections. He will try to destroy your credibility. He will try to paint you as liars. He will offer you money to stay quiet. But if you're willing to fight, if you're willing to go public, we can win this. Not just for you, but for every other woman he might target in the future. Amara thought about her mother. Her brothers. The bills that never stopped coming. She thought about the $500 Marcus had given her, the offer to pay for college, all the strings attached to his so-called generosity. She thought about Kia, who'd run because she couldn't fight anymore. And she thought about the girl who might come after her. The next Amara. The next victim. I'll fight, she said. Jasmine nodded. Me too. Teresa wiped tears from her eyes. Let's take him down. Sharon smiled, fierce and determined. Then let's get to work. The case took 3 months to build. Sharon gathered evidence. Security footage that hadn't been deleted showed Marcus entering rooms of other maids when they were alone. Patricia provided employment records showing a pattern of female staff members quitting suddenly. Leon provided testimony about things he'd witnessed over the years. Things he'd been told to ignore. Things he regretted not speaking up about sooner. Marcus's lawyers fought back hard. They claimed Amara was lying to get money. That Jasmine was bitter about being passed over for a promotion. That Teresa was jumping on the bandwagon to get attention. They dug into the women's pasts, looking for anything to discredit them. But Sharon was better. She found 2 more women. Former employees from years ago who'd left the estate and never spoken about why. Now they were ready to speak. 5 women. 5 different years. The same pattern of behavior. The same tactics. The same abuse of power. The media got hold of the story. It exploded. Chicago's billionaire philanthropist accused of serial harassment. The man who donated millions to women's shelters was allegedly terrorizing his own female staff. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Marcus tried to control the narrative. He gave interviews claiming he was the victim of a conspiracy. That these women were coordinating to destroy him for financial gain. That he'd always treated his staff with respect and dignity. But the public wasn't buying it. Too many women. Too much evidence. Too much smoke for there to be no fire. Then something unexpected happened. A 6th woman came forward. But this one was different. Her name was Victoria Chin, and she wasn't a maid. She was a former business partner. A woman Marcus had worked with 5 years earlier on a real estate deal. She said he'd harassed her throughout their business relationship. Made inappropriate comments about her appearance. Sent her late-night text messages that had nothing to do with work. When she'd rejected his advances, he'd pulled out of the deal, costing her company millions. She'd been too afraid to speak up then. Afraid of what he could do to her career. But now, seeing these brave women fight, she found her courage too. 7 women. Different backgrounds. Different positions. Different years. But all telling the same story. Marcus Danton was not who people thought he was. And his wealth had protected him for far too long. Would you have had the courage to speak up? Or would fear have kept you silent? Comment below and let us know. Your voice matters. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. The trial never happened. Marcus's lawyers knew they couldn't win. The evidence was too strong. The testimony too consistent. The public opinion too firmly against him. They negotiated a settlement. The terms were confidential, but sources close to the case said each woman received a 7-figure payout. More importantly, Marcus was forced to issue a public apology. It was read by his lawyer in a press conference, and even through the careful legal language, the truth was clear. He had abused his power. He had harassed his employees. He had created a hostile work environment. He was sorry. The apology meant nothing to Amara. Words couldn't undo what he'd done. Couldn't erase the fear she'd felt that night. Couldn't give back the innocence he tried to steal. But the money? The money changed everything. Her mother got the medical care she needed. Her brothers got to stay in school. The family moved to a better neighborhood, a place with working heat and windows that actually closed. Amara went back to college. Full-time. She majored in social work just like she'd always planned. But now she had a focus. She wanted to help women who'd been through what she'd been through. Women who felt powerless. Women who thought no one would believe them. She wanted to be proof that speaking up mattered. That fighting back worked. That justice was possible. Jasmine used her settlement money to start a non-profit organization called Safe House Chicago. It provided temporary housing and legal support for domestic workers experiencing harassment or abuse. Within 6 months, they'd helped 43 women. Teresa became an advocate, speaking at events and conferences about workplace harassment. She testified before the Illinois state legislature, pushing for stronger protections for domestic workers. Her testimony helped pass new legislation requiring all households with full-time staff to undergo annual third-party safety audits. Victoria Chin wrote a book about her experience, Breaking the Silence. It became a bestseller and sparked a national conversation about harassment in business. Patricia kept working in estate management, but she made it her mission to create safe environments for staff. She developed training programs for household managers on how to recognize and respond to harassment. She became a consultant, helping wealthy families establish proper protocols to protect their employees. Leon left security work and became a private investigator specializing in workplace harassment cases. He said he'd spent too many years looking the other way. And Kia? Amara finally reconnected with her 6 months after the settlement. Kia had moved to Atlanta, was working at a nonprofit, and was in therapy dealing with her own trauma from the estate. She cried when Amara told her about the lawsuit. "I'm so sorry I left you there," Kia said. "I should have stayed. Should have fought." "You did what you needed to do to survive," Amara told her. "And you warned me. You tried to protect me. That's more than anyone else did." They stayed in touch after that. Video calls every week. Visits twice a year. A friendship forged in trauma but built on mutual respect and understanding. As for Marcus Danton, his empire crumbled. Business partners cut ties. His board of directors forced him to step down from his own company. His reputation was destroyed. A reminder that wealth couldn't buy immunity from consequences. Not anymore. Last anyone heard, he'd moved to Europe, trying to rebuild his life away from the scandal. But the internet never forgets. His name would forever be associated with abuse of power. And that was exactly how it should be. 2 years after that night, Amara stood in front of a lecture hall at Northwestern University. She'd been invited to speak to a class on ethics and social work. She told her story. Not the version that protected anyone's feelings. The real story. The fear. The powerlessness. The moment she thought her life was over. And then the moment she chose to fight back. When she finished, the room was silent. Then a young woman in the front row raised her hand. "How did you find the courage?" she asked. Amara thought about it. "I didn't find courage," she said honestly. "I found anger. Anger that someone thought they could do this to me. Anger that other women had suffered in silence. Anger that the system was designed to protect him and not us. And I channeled that anger into action. That's not courage. That's survival. That's refusing to let someone else define your worth." The room erupted in applause. After the lecture, 7 young women approached her. Each one had a story. A professor who made inappropriate comments. A boss who touched without consent. A family member who made them feel unsafe. They'd been carrying these stories alone, afraid no one would believe them. Afraid speaking up would ruin their lives. Amara listened to each one. Gave them resources. Contact information for lawyers and counselors. But most importantly, she gave them something else. She looked them in the eye and said, "I believe you." Those 3 words. The words she'd needed to hear when she was terrified and alone. The words that changed everything. "I believe you. What happened to you was wrong. And you deserve justice." By the time she left campus that day, she had 17 new messages from women who'd heard she was there. Women who wanted to share their stories. Women who needed someone to believe them. This wasn't just about Marcus Danton anymore. This was about a culture and a system that valued power and wealth over safety and dignity. A world that told women to be quiet, be grateful, don't make waves. That world was changing. Slowly, but it was changing. And Amara was part of that change. Years after that night in the mansion, Amara Thompson graduated from Northwestern University with a degree in social work. She was 25 years old. Her mother and brothers were in the audience, cheering louder than anyone else. Patricia was there. Leon was there. Sharon Mills was there. Jasmine and Teresa were there. Even Kia flew in from Atlanta. They all came to celebrate not just Amara's graduation, but what she represented. Proof that speaking up matters. Proof that fighting back works. Proof that one person's courage can inspire others to find their own. During her valedictorian speech, Amara said something that would later be quoted in dozens of articles and shared millions of times on social media. "I used to think power was about money, about status, about who had the biggest house or the most influential friends. But I learned something important. Real power is the power to say no. The power to draw a boundary. The power to refuse to accept something just because someone tells you that's how things are. Real power is knowing your worth cannot be bought or sold or negotiated. It's yours. And no one, no matter how much money they have, can take it away unless you let them." The audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted 3 minutes. Today, Amara works at Safe House Chicago, the nonprofit Jasmine started. She helps women navigate the legal system when they've experienced workplace harassment. She sits with them in police stations and lawyers' offices. She holds their hands when they're too scared to speak. She tells them her story so they know they're not alone. And she says those 3 magic words over and over. "I believe you." Her family now lives with her. They're not rich, but they're safe. They're stable. They're together. If you're watching this and you've ever been in a situation like Amara's, hear me clearly. You are not alone. You are not powerless. You do not have to accept being treated as less than human just because someone has money or authority or connections. Your dignity is not negotiable. Your safety is not a privilege. Your voice matters. And there are people who will believe you. People who will fight for you. People who will stand with you. You just have to be brave enough to speak. I know that's hard. I know it's terrifying. I know you might lose things that feel essential to your survival. But I also know this, staying silent has a cost too. A cost to your spirit, your sense of self, your ability to look in the mirror and know you stood up for yourself. Amara paid a price for speaking up. She lost a job she desperately needed. She had to relive her trauma over and over in interviews and depositions. She had to watch lawyers try to destroy her character on national television. But she also gained something invaluable. She gained her power back. She gained the knowledge that she could face the scariest moment of her life and survive. She gained a community of women who understood her pain and celebrated her strength. She gained a purpose that gives her life meaning every single day. That's what speaking up can do. Not just for you but for every person who comes after you. Every person who's suffering in silence, waiting for someone to show them it's possible to fight back. So if this story moved you, if it made you angry, if it reminded you that justice is possible even when the odds seem impossible, I need you to share this video. Not for views, not for likes, but because someone in your life needs to see it. Someone needs to know they're not alone. Someone needs to hear that speaking up is worth it. Comment below and tell me if this story resonated with you. Tell me if you've ever had to find the courage to stand up to power. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And together, we can create a world where no one has to experience what Amara experienced. A world where power doesn't mean you get to hurt people. Where wealth doesn't mean you're above the law. Where no means no regardless of who's saying it or who's hearing it. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because we're going to keep telling these stories. Like this video if Amara's story touched your heart. Meanwhile, Amara's name is associated with courage, with resilience, with justice. Her legacy is the women she's helped, the lives she's changed, the system she's working to improve. Her wealth isn't measured in dollars but in the impact she's had on her community. And that's a kind of wealth that actually matters. So here's what I want you to take away from this story. If you're someone who's experienced harassment, abuse, or any form of power being used against you, please know this. It wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve it. You're not alone. And there are people who will believe you, support you, and fight alongside you. Speaking up is terrifying, but staying silent is its own kind of prison. You deserve to be free. If you're someone in a position of power, whether that's in a workplace, a household, or any other setting, please understand this. Power comes with responsibility. Your position doesn't give you the right to take advantage of people who depend on you. Your wealth doesn't make you above basic human decency. Your authority should be used to protect people, not to harm them. And if you've been abusing your power, know that the world is changing. The culture that protected people like you is crumbling. And justice, delayed though it may be, is coming. And if you're someone who witnesses abuse, who sees signs of harassment, who hears whispers of inappropriate behavior, please don't look the other way. Don't tell yourself it's not your business. Don't convince yourself that speaking up will make things worse. Because your silence enables abuse. Your inaction allows them to continue hurting people. Be like Leon. Be like Patricia. Be like Kia. Use whatever power you have, however small it might seem, to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. That's how we change the culture. That's how we create a world where stories like Amara's become rare instead of common. Amara wanted her story told not for attention or sympathy, but because she knows there are thousands of women just like her. Women working in homes where they don't feel safe. Women who've been told that their discomfort is the price of employment. Women who think they have no choice but to endure whatever their employers decide to subject them to. She wants those women to know they have a choice. They have options. They have rights. And they have an entire community of survivors ready to support them if they choose to speak up. The path won't be easy. It wasn't easy for Amara. But it's possible. And it's worth it. That's the message. That's the hope. That's the truth that needs to be shouted from every rooftop until everyone hears it. You are not powerless. You are not alone. And your voice has the power to change not just your own life, but the lives of countless others who are watching, waiting, hoping for someone to show them it's possible to fight back and win. Thank you for watching this story all the way to the end. Subscribe, like, share. And most importantly, if you see something, say something. If you experience something, report it. That's how we protect each other. That's how we build a better world. That's how we ensure that what happened to Amara never happens to anyone else. Until next time, stay strong. Stay vigilant. And never forget that your voice matters. Every single one of you has the power to make a difference. Use it.